The manufacturer wants to limit your ability to fix your own car. Hey everyone, how's it going? So this seems to be a hot topic lately. However, it's called the right to repair. However, this has actually been around for many years. Many of you don't even realize it. Many of you may not even know what's going on right now. Recently, the CEO of GM, one of the owners of Ford, Roger Penske, and several other dealer representatives went and met with the President of the United States. Now, this is not political at all. I'm just telling you what happened. I don't want to put anything political out there. I'm just telling you this is what happened. So they met with the President, President Trump, and they basically said that they want to limit our ability to repair our own cars. And Trump actually said he thought it was strange that they would want to do that. Okay? So that's a good thing. So the question comes down to, what are they actually talking about? Like, what do they actually want to do? So they want to limit the aftermarket's ability to get into their proprietary software. Like right now, they have to release that information to the aftermarket. So the aftermarket has the ability to repair their vehicles. They want to limit it. They want everybody to go to them when something happens, okay? Their reasoning is because everything has a module now, okay? Your engine, your transmission, your brakes, your steering, your left front door, your right front door, your right rear door, your left rear door, your tailgate, your trunk latch, your headlights, your steering, your braking, I already said braking. But anyway, you get the point. Like, everything has a module, okay? So their reasoning is because people that basically want to do bad things, do no good, they have the ability to get into your vehicle and control it, okay? A lot of vehicles, well, I shouldn't say a lot, okay? This started a couple years ago, and I believe it started with the Cybertruck. Cybertruck does not have a redundant steering system, okay? You are basically attached to a steering wheel that's like for a video game. Sorry, there's a fly flying around here driving me nuts. It's like for a video game. It gives you feedback and stuff, but it's not actually connected to anything, okay? Years ago, when you had your power steering, whether it be electric or hydraulic, you obviously had a redundant system. You had a mechanical link. So if the power steering blew a hose or you lost a belt, you still had the ability to turn the steering wheel to get you off the road or to safety or whatever. Not anymore. Not anymore. Years ago, your throttle used to have a cable, some kind of linkage to go out to the carburetor, throttle body, whatever. And that's no longer. That hasn't existed for quite a while now. You basically have, like, you remember the old slot cars? Where you pull the trigger to make it go faster or slower, the little slot car on a racetrack? It's basically what your gas pedal is, okay? And the throttle body has an electric motor in it that just reacts to the input it gets from the pedal. So what the manufacturers are saying is they want to limit what goes out to the aftermarket because people can take control of your car. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because somebody could go with a laptop and get into your car. That's how a lot of these cars are stolen nowadays too. Like, they can get in there with like a laptop and read whatever signal that came out of your key fob or whatever, and to get into the system in your car. So they want to limit all of that. Because let's say you're driving down the road and all of a sudden your car starts to go someplace and you don't know where it's going. Okay? Could it happen? Absolutely. It sounds like something out of James Bond, but it could absolutely happen. I don't know of any cases where it has happened, but I could see it happening. But could you imagine that? And your car going someplace where you don't know where it's going. Or let's say somebody, for some reason, wants to cause you harm. Cause you to have an accident. Who knows? Who knows? So I can understand that. However, where does it end? Where does it actually end if you limit that? There are certain higher end cars now, if you wanted to replace, say, a headlight bulb, okay, you'd have to have it programmed after you replace the headlight bulb. Some vehicles you can't even replace the headlight bulb. I remember a BMW that we had at the body shop years ago. and this was, I mean, years ago, I'm talking 2020-ish, and the headlights were something like $2,500 a piece, and there was no bulb to service. It was a whole assembly. And then once that was done, you had to program it. Yeah. So could you imagine that? Like your headlight goes out, and now there's no bulb to change, but you have to program it afterwards. Like, it's just ridiculous. But many vehicles nowadays, like transmission solenoids, okay, they have certain numbers on them where your computer recognizes the numbers on that solenoid. I don't know if it gives the computer like resistance numbers. I don't understand what it actually means, because some, these solenoids may only have 2 wires, like a power and a ground. But there must be something in the resistance that's controlled by that, or that solenoid sends feedback to the computer in order for the computer to recognize that solenoid. Okay, so you change that solenoid. If you don't program it, it may be in limp mode. Fuel injectors. Fuel injectors nowadays are coded. They come with a number on them. So when you replace a fuel injector, you have to go in and you have to type the numbers in. So if it's only the manufacturer that has that software, now you have to go to the manufacturer. Years ago, the general rule of thumb was once a car is sold to the customer, 1/3 of those customers will go back to the dealer for non-warranty repairs. Okay? The other 2/3 would go to aftermarket, the independent body shops, or independent repair shops, independent body shops. But that 1/3 always stuck with the dealership. That number's dwindled down to, I believe, like 20% or 22%, something in that range. So the manufacturer wants to get those people to come back, which I find kind of funny because the dealers are having a hard time finding techs. So to me, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Think about this too. How many cars nowadays have electric parking brakes where there is no workaround for, like Subarus, for instance, like it has a thing where, you press on the brake, you turn the key on, you pull up the switch, you hit the headlight, something like that, and it goes into like a service mode. I don't remember the exact procedure, but it goes into a service mode and it'll retract the brakes, okay? But not every car is like that. Not every car is like that. Some cars require you to have a scanner to do it. Now, are there workarounds? Sure. You can actually unbolt the electric motor, take it off, and twist the drive piece backwards in order to retract the caliper, okay? But when are they going to come out with something that's non-serviceable? Like you cannot remove that electric motor from that caliper, okay? So now you have to go to the dealership to do your brakes, okay? You have to go to the dealership to replace a headlight bulb because it's got to be programmed. Ford, back in the 90s, I believe it was. Yeah, it was definitely in the 90s. It might have even been late 80s. They had, in their Ford Tauruses, they had what was called the InstaClear windshield. And it had like a film inside the layers of glass. Because windshields, you may not realize it, is multi-layers of glass with plastic in between. That's what makes it a safety glass, or impact resistant, whatever it's called. But it's done like that for very specific reasons, so the limit, stuff breaking through the windshield, if you hit like a bird or an animal or something like that. Of course, there's limits to everything. So, but anyway, they had InstaClear windshields. The problem was that windshield, now this was back in the early 90s, the windshield was over $1,000 if you broke the windshield, okay? Why am I saying this? Hang with me. The aftermarket came out with a non-InstaClear windshield, although Ford did offer one too. The aftermarket didn't offer an InstaClear windshield because it's just too expensive to make. So it had electric connectors that went into the glass. Who's to say the manufacturer's not going to do something like that with glass on your car to where it has some kind of a resistance reading that your computer recognizes? So now, your side window broke, okay? Go to a glass shop, get your glass repaired, okay? Or you're smart enough, you go to a junkyard and you pick out a piece of glass and you're going to replace it yourself. You're mechanically inclined enough, right? Now your car don't start. I mean, who is to say that this is not a possibility? It's definitely a possibility. So basically, where does it end? Where does it seriously end? I don't know. I don't know. So it's definitely not a good thing. I think that they could make the ability to enter the systems a little more, have it tethered to the car. You know, everything's done wirelessly now. You know, you have going into the OBD2 connector, you have like a pod that plugs in, and it, like through Bluetooth, basically communicates with the scanner. How about making it tethered again? This way the dealership or anybody else that has this equipment has to have it tethered in order to get into the vehicle. To me, that makes way more sense. This way the aftermarket can still have their stuff and do what they need to do, and you don't have to worry about somebody stealing the car or somebody taking over the abilities of the car, the functionality of the car, okay? Remember, there was all those talks of the runaway Toyotas, and there was some guy in a Prius who was basically saying that his Prius was running away and stuff like that. It made the news and everything else. But it turns out they went in and they could check and they could see that he was pressing on the gas pedal and he was pressing on the brake at the same time. And then he finally admitted it. That's what he was doing. So he was trying to basically win a lawsuit against Toyota. So, but there again, like I said, I'm going off topic a little bit, but you follow where I'm going with this. Like somebody can get into a car through a scanner on the outside of your car and program, do whatever. Let's say they want to make your car accelerate down the road. What if they want to make your car pull over and come to a stop? What's stopping them? So anyway, that's it. I just kind of wanted to cover that for you. Oh, I mentioned that Roger Penske actually met with the president also. And you may think, well, who the heck is Roger Penske? I mean, you all know the name Roger Penske, but what does he have to do with it? Well, Roger Penske owns over 200 dealerships in the United States. So had he owned over 200 independent repair shops, it'd probably be a different story. But since he owns over 200 dealers, you know, of course he wants to get on that bandwagon. Why not? I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? But anyway, all right, I hope you got something out of that. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it raises some questions in your mind. But yeah, so if you like my videos, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. And if you look down in the description below, you'll see links to Amazon products. I would appreciate it if you guys could give it a click. If you buy something, great, you're helping me out. But yeah, so that's kind of it. And if you could, hit that hype button and hype my videos. I'd really appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't do anything on your end, really. But if you hyping my videos, there's like a leaderboard on YouTube, and it does kind of help. It helps their algorithm and stuff like that. So you'd be helping me out. I'd appreciate it. All right, guys, thanks again. Have a great day. Keep wrenching.